Thank you, Asa, for joining. I'm thrilled to welcome you, to our fireside chat today. And before we dive deep into our conversation, I would like to know a bit more about your journey and your current role at AWS.
Of course. First of all, thank you for having me here. Prasad, I can't see your video. I don't know if it's just on my end or can
Uh,
others see it?
I
Oh, there you
think,
go.
yeah,
Okay,
okay,
I can see you. Well, thank
cool.
you for having me here. I'm Asa. I lead our migration and modernization services in AWS. So this subject that you're discussing is near and dear for me. Little bit about my journey here. There's two things that have been constant in my journey. One is entrepreneurship, and the second one is analytics. And if I look at my history over here, I've done two startups, and I've launched 5 AWS services, like from ground zero to full external service. So that's sort of one thing that has been constant through my career. And analytics, right from my PhD work which was in optimization to doing a startup in data and analytics to what I'm doing now, it's been a constant evolution of that journey as well. So those are the two things that I stand for. And specifically within that, currently I lead our migration modernization services, which we'll talk about a little bit in the next few minutes or so. Prior to doing this, I've been in AWS now close to 10 years. And prior to doing this, I was leading the transformation of our internal sales and marketing tools. And that was a very interesting journey because I could put myself in the shoes of our customers that are looking to transform themselves. And the challenge we had was we had lots of different tools, lots of different repetition, duplication, and we needed to create a AI-based customer first product for our sales and marketing teams, the tens of thousands of go to market specialists that we have. And so what we built was a completely new application, which was then taking advantage of AI for next best actions, best sales trajectory, and so on. I did that. And then prior to that, I launched a few services in the hybrid space. Ashish was describing earlier some of the things like storage gateway, transfer services, data sync. I had my fingers on some of those. So I've lived in the shoes of our customers who are looking to move from on-prem to the cloud. So that's sort of been my journey for the last 10 years. And I founded and ran two startups for about 10 years before that. And I started my career at Bell Labs doing research in lots of fun areas. So that's a bit about me.
That's an impressive career journey, Asa, and you're being very modest in telling about such great achievements. Thank you so much. And for everyone, when Asa says that she leads migration modernization services at AWS, like she is the VP and single-threaded leader, and all of the AWS services that are there for migration modernization, she is the one responsible for it. So we will dive deep into that, Asa, because let's go a bit deep, and let's start from you talked about you also worked with customers a lot. So what do you consider are the most complex challenges like enterprises face in migrating and modernizing their workloads to cloud, and how is your team and AWS in overall is solving those problems?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I speak to at least one customer every couple of days, and I've spoken to hundreds of them. And I think if you step back, why are these customers looking to migrate and modernize, right? At the heart of it is because they want agility. They want to move from more hard, take advantage of the cloud, take advantage of the scale, the performance, the resilience, all the things that we at AWS can help our customers. And that's been, we've been doing that for almost 20 years now. But what has accelerated that need to migrate, modernize now is the advent of GenAI. So if you think of customers, they're all in a rush to figure out how can I create this chatbot? How can I create this optimization for this workflow? And for all of that, they need the services, the data to be accessible. They need to be innovate quickly, bring in open source. So that's kind of created a huge velocity increase in why customers want to migrate. And then modernization comes along with that as well, because once you've moved, you need to continuously keep up with new versions and new frameworks and new technology. So it's created this big urgency for customers to migrate and modernize in this world. And now, if you step back, let's think about the challenges, right? I think I cannot do a better job than what Ashish did on why it is hard to move and give up something that you were used to for doing in so many years and then move to the cloud. But if you think about it at the next level of the technical challenges here, it's about, how do I get access to all the skills? I need people who are skilled on prem and I need people who are skilled in the cloud. these services are working today. So how do I make sure that what I've launched is correct? It's risk free. So the validation, the skills, all of these create new challenges for our customers to be able to move there and be able to take advantage of the cloud.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's amazing. Uh, and then, you know, I would like to understand a bit more about a concrete customer example, let's say, like how probably like we have helped customer, migrate and modernize. Any specific example that comes to your mind?
Oh, there's so many of them, but I'll give you a couple example scenarios in different use cases, right? So,
Yeah.
if you think about the VMware use case, or in general, the server migration, which is also a little bit about what Ashish talked before on, there's customers that are in even a higher urgency to move because of the Broadcom licensing changes. They want to take advantage of the cost savings in the cloud. And so, I've recently worked with a customer who had 6,000 VMs that needed to move from on-prem to the cloud because their license was expiring and they needed a quick way to move that. And with that, it comes with all the inventory mapping, it's the actual server movement. But a big part of this is also how are you going to deploy it in the cloud? How do you make sure that your post cloud deployment checks are in place? Is it in the right accounts? So, and then one of the challenges that we found with this particular customer was it's one thing to move servers, that's good. But then beyond that, you also want to move other things, networking and security. I'm sure all the audience over here is technical, hands-on folks that have spent hours trying to put together, hey, this is my spreadsheet. These are all the IP address blocks. This is what I want to move into. These are the permissions and ACLs, and what do I need to do on the other end? So all of these things were so complex. And so when we worked with them, it's like, hey, now, and I'll tell you a little bit about AWS Transform in a bit, but with this, what we did was, hey, give them automated ways to discover your network topology, map it to the equivalent in the cloud, auto generate the networking, the security groups. And with that, that piece, which was really error prone, got reduced. So what would take 2 weeks could now be done in 8 hours. And that really saves time. And then we have partners. You mentioned partners as well earlier. So Slalom, for example, is a partner, or other such partners who are actually taking this and helping customers move and reduce that risk that comes up. So that's sort of in the server migration space. I do want to talk a little bit about mainframes. Not too many people here in the on this group may be hands-on with mainframes, but I find that a very fascinating problem. Like mainframes have been around for what, 50, 60 years, and some of the most complicated workflows run on that today. You're taking a flight, you're withdrawing cash, you're doing your retail transaction. Majority of that cannot happen without these mainframes, so they're super important. But now, for all those reasons I mentioned earlier, with the lack of skills, the urgency to move, customers do want to move that to the cloud. And so we've had a customer recently who took their old mainframe code. Like there's lots of examples, but take Jonas Fitness for example. They had this application. They run um, sports clubs across the country, and they needed ways to quickly make that more modern and get away from their mainframe code. They were able to do this. We have some customers who send us pictures where, hey, I just disconnected, moved that last workload, and here my mainframe is being shipped out of my data center. So I can now completely be in the cloud. So there's a lot of these customers who have this urgency to move to the cloud that is driving this. Let's take the modernization example. One of the customers that we are working with right now is Thomson Reuters. So they do a lot of applications in the legal tracking space, and they had hundreds of applications that were all in the old Windows technology. Now, many of you may know that you have .NET framework, which was developed 20 years ago, and there's still 30-40% of the applications that are running on that. And they want to move them to the modern .NET Core. They can move it into open source and move their SQL servers and all of that. And so we worked with Thomson Reuters or the Hartford Insurance. All of these customers are taking their Windows workloads and moving those to the cloud. So there's a lot of these examples, and really it's driven by the urgency to move, but they want to do it right. They want to make sure they have the right performance, the scale, and compress that journey because, while migration modernization is important, that's not the end result. That is a means to getting to business transformation, right? So the more we help customers with that piece, the faster they can realize value in the new world.
Great examples, and I love the way that you explained for both the migration and not just a server migration but also mainframe, right? And when we talk about mainframe, I have, like, when I started my career journey, few of my friends went into the mainframes, and after a decade they were like, my skills have become obsolete, what do I do? And that's what I try and tell people, that when it talk about cloud, right? All the skills that you have acquired working on on-prem or any other technologies, they're all transferable to cloud. It's just about upskilling. And now
Exactly.
with AI coming in, I see a question in the chat that is AI going to take the cloud jobs? It's all about upskilling, right? It's about once you upskill, and there is a saying that goes on a lot. AI is not going to replace your job. It's the people who use AI is going to replace your jobs. So as soon as you start on this bandwagon of using AI, that will be more easier. And we'll talk a little bit more about AI, Asa. But before that, like you talked about how we at AWS are helping these customers, and you gave some really good examples. I would like to dive deep a bit more into this. About we have so many field teams, and you have been, as you said, that you have worked on creating these tools for the field teams. Can you dive in a bit more and talk about different roles that we have in the field teams that help customers migrate and modernize, and dive deep a bit more on solutions architect role, that how we work there?
Yeah, I think our field teams, we think of us as a big group that's helping our customers on this journey. So I'm on the service team side, so we'll build products with our that our customers use. But we work very closely with right from our account managers that are working directly with the relationship with the customer, and then we have our professional services folks that help with the actual hands-on work, and then solution architects, TAMs, the technical account managers, and the customer success managers are some of the more technical roles that really help the customers. So, the TAMs are helping engage with, hey, what are your strategies? How are we going to bring that back? Are they running into any issues? And customer success managers are going to help after you've launched and making sure that the product is working as desired. But the solution architects play a very, very important role in this entire journey. And I'm not saying this just because I'm on this call, but SAs are some of my best friends when I work with on the field, because they help the customer understand what problem they have. So, like Ashish was showing earlier, the app discovery service, helping them get the inventory assessment planning. That's a big place where SAs play a role. When they're actually doing the migration, they're helping the customer, unblocking them. Then, after they've been launched and successful, they're helping them with the next set of applications, or helping them design the well architected solutions. The other things that essays do is also a lot of thought leadership. So, for example, I know you yourself wrote some of the blogs when my service was being launched, and there's so many of these essays that help us write about the details about what we are doing. The essays also play a very important role in bringing customer feedback back to us, because I spend a lot of time with customers, but not everybody can do all of this. So you are the scale mechanism to get input from a lot of customers, see the common patterns, and be an advisor to the service teams on, hey, these are the patterns we are seeing. And then you become the first guinea pigs to test out our services. So I mentioned I've launched so many new services, and the essays are the ones that are going to be the hands-on folks that are testing the service. We do these bug bashes where they tell us what's working, what's not working, and really be that barometer to us from what the field needs. And then the most other interesting thing is essays are also now playing a really important role when they're thinking about AI. And I'm really itching to talk about AWS Transform, but I know we're going to get there. But these, some of our essay friends, they have been, in fact, you mentioned mainframe skills going less important. But I have some really great friends in the SA organization who know the mainframe world, that have completely embraced AI. And now they're coming up with ideas on, hey, I had this COBOL code, now I can convert it to Java, doing these things. So they're also creating these quick prototypes which they can bring back and help us scale. And they also show thought leadership back to our customer on how we are doing things hands-on. So many different ways in which essays create value for our customers and our internal users to be that bridge between the customer and our products.
Yes, very well said. And yeah, as I says, we do spend a lot of time with our customers, understanding their problems and see how we can implement solutions for them, and also get the feedback and pass it back to service team. As I mentioned, like I am right now in India because from Monday I have a customer EBA. EBA is experience based accelerator, and we will cover that in the future sessions if possible in the behavioral track. But where we spend like hands-on experience with the customer, coming up with a scenario and streams, and showcase how it can be achieved. And Asa, you would be happy to know that this EBA is more about .NET application modernization. Customer has had like .NET framework applications for long, and now they are looking to modernize them. And so I'll pass on any
Awesome.
feedback that we get from the customer. Uh,
Please do.
yeah. Cool. Now let's switch gears to AI, right? Like I know that we AWS Transform is an important topic that we would like to cover. So yeah, how this AI is going to change the way organizations migrate and modernize?
Yeah. So, it's a kind of an obvious question in this world, but if you think about, our 20 years of experience, everything we've talked about, learning what customers do, and now if you add AI to the mix, we can completely change the game on how you can do migration modernization. And you can use it to do everything from the analysis to be faster, to be able to generate code, to be able to do validations. And so, with that in mind, that's actually what we did with launching AWS Transform. So that's a new service that went live about 3 months ago. May 15th was our GA date. And the goal for AWS Transform is really to make migration modernization simple and fast, right? And so all the things that we saw earlier in Ashish's diagram, right, from assessment, discovery, business case, movement, deployment, validation, all of those things can be completely transformed with AI. And that's what we've done with Transform. So now with AWS Transform, you have all of them in one place to go. So that will become your one hub to do all your migration modernization projects. And the way we use AI is really in three key ways. One is we've got these really core foundational expert agents that are great at certain tasks. So think about your .NET example that you gave. How do I convert from old .NET to a new .NET framework? Maybe SQL servers along with that, or even message queues and all. So these become expert tasks. Or in the mainframe world, how do you go from COBOL to Java for or how do you convert from IMS databases? Or in the VMware world, that network translation example that I gave you. So all of these components can now be completely rethought in the world of AI. And so what we've done in Transform is created these task agents that are unique for these different functions. So think of them as experts that are good at certain tasks. And then we have a goal-driven super agent that can invoke these tasks based on what the customer wants to do or what the SA is doing for our customers. So that's the agentic workflow that is built on top of these individual expert agents. And then this whole experience is driven through a collaborative chat-based experience. So if you think about how a migration project is done, it's rarely a solo project. You have lots of people. You have the solution architects helping, you have the customer, you have sometimes a partner, you have the CFO trying to figure out what's going on in this, right? So it's a big collaborative project. And so how do you bring everybody together? How do you make that shared experience? And a lot of the interaction, with the chat GPT world, everybody wants things to be in a much more, hey, tell me what this means. Don't give me just the data and dashboards. So with the combination of expert agents, this collaboration and goal-driven architect orchestration, that's kind of what we've done with AI in AWS Transform. And what that means to us is what projects that could take years now can be done in months, if not faster. And with this, we are now automating the analysis pieces. And so instead of having a PowerPoint sent to you every month, you can now do a quick chat-based analysis for assessment. How is what is my on-prem inventory? What is the TCO going to be? What if I change from these instance types to a different instance type? You can immediately get that TCO. So that's possible only because of AI. You're converting from COBOL to Java. You can use AI for a lot of that functionality. The verification of how do you know that what you started with is what you're ending with. Test generation. So all of these places, now you can use AI to change the velocity with which you can do things and reduce some of that risk that is required. And it makes our sales folks and our customers much more efficient in doing this.
Yes. So you touched upon some really good points here. Chat-based interface for migration. Like generally, what happens is for migrations, there are so many silos happening. Bringing them all together on one platform and having the collaborators chat with it is really helpful. Uh, So for folks who have, we will be covering AWS Transform in detail in week 3 for migration, for VMware migrations, and in week 6 for .NET. So you will be able to understand, what we are talking about here when you will see the actual agentic AI experience. Like Ashish today showed on a high level how application discovery service works. We will show in our week 3 that how it is going to be wrapped in AWS Transform umbrella, so that you have this whole agentic AI experience of doing the tasks via ADS, where you will not be doing it, AI agents will be doing it on your behalf. And that's where the whole human in the loop comes into picture. uh, so that's what I was really impressed was, with AWS Transform, the whole new web-based UI and the user interface that makes it very intuitive for the users who are working with it, because you can simply kind of chat with the UI interface as you're chatting with a human. Cool. I
Yes,
see a lot of
exactly.
questions coming in the chat. I'll come to those questions, but before that, I would like to ask you about, how do you see AWS Transform evolving over the time? Like, what's your long-term vision for it?
Yeah. So with what we launched with AWS Transform couple months ago, we focused on three workloads. So one was helping customers migrate from on-prem to the cloud, starting with VMs, and then over time, you want to make sure that that whole migration becomes easy. We also focused on Windows modernization because lots of customers want access to open source capabilities or more modern frameworks. So that was our second workload. And the third workload was mainframe modernization. So going from IBM ZOS systems to equivalents in the cloud. So that's what we started with. We have a long ways to go. There's so much innovation that is possible here. My vision at the end of the day is AWS Transform becomes the one place to go for all migration modernization projects. And it brings in that collaboration that you talked about. We want migrations to be simple and fast. And so go from, the 12, 18, 24 months that it takes to weeks and, potentially even days to do some of these migrations. And it should be just as easy. You're moving one laptop to the other. You don't think much, right? You just kind of migrate your stuff. So it should be that simple. And modernization should be continuous. It's not a one-time thing. Your new versions keep coming. Like we've done a lot of Java upgrades in AWS, which are much simpler now with the agents doing that. And so then you have new frameworks, new SDKs. You want to go from your brownfield customers that were ahead, but now they want to be continues to be tracking the latest technology. So you want to help that. So modernization should be a continuous journey. Migrations should be quick, simple, and it should also be a place where everybody can participate. So one of the things that we just launched a couple months ago at New York Summit was the ability to do composable workflows. And what that means is, we've built some great agents. We're very proud of them, but our partners and SAs sometimes and our customers have their own tools that they've also been building. So how do you bring the best of their tools and our tools and really help this journey? So that's what we think about as composability, where partner tooling, customer tooling, and all can be brought into this one framework, and we really speed up migration. So that's kind of our vision, one place to go, but it's a combination of how we do it with our partners. All our global services integrators also have tools. So how do we bring them all together to speed up that journey and make it fast and simple? That's the two keywords there.
Amazing. And thank you so much for it. And before I take questions from the audience, one last question from me, and that's more focusing on the skills of an SA. Like SA needs to be technical, mainly if they are focusing more on migrating and modernizing. But apart from being technical, because see, like AI is going to replace or do a lot of heavy lifting. So what other skills SA should be focusing on, so that they are relevant in this industry and can help customers in their migration modernization journey?
I think it's really about the customer, understanding the customer problem. Like at AWS, we talk a lot about the working backwards process, working with customers. And really, I've also done, like I said, many startups. And the essays that are really successful are the ones that can hear what the customer problem is. Sometimes the customer may not exactly tell you what the solution is, but being able to understand the problem, synthesize it across a cohort of customers and say, okay, this is the theme that I'm hearing, and then be able to figure out working back from that, how should I solve the problem. It's not about giving them a tool, it's not about pitching a certain service, it's about understanding what problem they have and how you can solve it. And that requires a deep listening and going deep dive into that customer's issues, but then tying that back into also delivering it in an iterative fashion, right? We want to think big, but we also want to quickly deliver results. So ultimately, how can you earn trust so that you can get that customer to take small steps to get them towards that journey? Because again, you're taking everybody along in that process. So it's a combination of thinking about the customer problem, bringing that back into a tractable solution, tying it with what we can do, and then also thinking about where is the problem going, right? You don't want to solve yesterday's problem, you want to think about where the business is going.
Yeah. a lot of human element would be required in this, and thanks for
Exactly.
sharing this. And we will be covering these, like as I mentioned, working backward process. We'll be covering this, I think, in the week 3 on the behavioral track. So we have these topics that Asha mentioned in our agenda, where, as an essay, what skills you need to acquire to succeed. Now, I know we are almost on time, but I'll quickly take one or two questions from the audience. One question that Asa has come here was, in recent times, I have had first-hand experience of business being reluctant to put a new solution on cloud due to higher operating costs. How to navigate those discussions with business heads?
I think the example that Ashish was giving before on how we do app discovery and the migration bubble, as you called it, I think the key is to be able to, again, understand what their costs are and help them with um, thinking towards how an optimized solution would look like with the overall TCO. So it's not just the cost of servers, but it's the cost of maintenance, the cost of support, the cost of inventing and building new solutions. We've seen that customers who are in the cloud have 40+% less security incidents. Their velocity of deployments is higher. So it's a combination of things that gets them to that place. And so the way I typically approach this is obviously create this whole initial analysis and TCO representation. But then, along with that, also give examples. We've had hundreds and thousands of customers that have gone on this journey. So let's bring those case studies and help them understand. Sometimes customers are even happy to talk to each other and give advice. So we have a customer advisory board who comes together, who gives us advice, and they talk about amongst themselves on what themes they're seeing. So there's a long number of ways in which you can really help customers understand the benefits and really help them address their concerns.
Yes, and we as SAs, we try and find similar use cases in similar industry where customers have actually saved a lot, and then showcase that to our customers. And yeah, as you said, if we can make that cross customer collaboration directly, and so that their heads can talk to each other and they can share their learnings about how they were actually able to make a successful cloud migration. Yes, uh, digital transformation and cloud migration is not easy, and there will be scenarios where there are chances that it might not go as you thought, right? So engaging early with the experts and ensuring that you are always on the right, correct, and course correct when required is really important.
Exactly.
Cool. Thank you, Asa. I thought I'll be able to take more questions from audience, but I know that we are on time now. So thank you so much for joining us. This was really engaging discussion. And, anyone who is on the chat and asking the questions, we will be able to answer your questions on the Discord channel. So feel free to, engage us with there. Yeah, and I see
And
Ashish
thank
on
you
the
so much
camera.
for the conversation. And I hope you all enjoy these sessions. They seem really exciting. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
Asa.
being here, Asha. And yeah, a lot of questions were there, and you were able to answer, so that's good. Now, at the end of it, like I want to summarize, like what we are expecting people to do and what could be the next step for it. So let me quickly talk about that. So thanks everyone for asking questions. Keep them coming. I'm not sure if we were able to answer everything or not, but there were so many questions, and that is important. So what we will suggest as a next step for you, it is now your turn to act. First, complete the knowledge check. We'll be sending out emails soon, and then you should have a link to go ahead and perform that knowledge check. I would suggest, even if you pass knowledge check, go ahead to the session again. Try to understand all the things Asa talked about, I talked about, because foundation is very important when you're doing migration. Your planning, your preparation is very, very important. Then participate in the hands-on workshop. I'll give you the link where you will be able to participate and do these things. You would need your own AWS account, so make sure you watch out for cost. Even if it is few dollars of investment, it is worth doing rather than just doing nothing at all. So a few dollars, set a budget, and go ahead and do these workshops for yourself. Be active and support your peers. So if you know about something, a question is there, don't wait for us to jump into that question. If you know, share your thoughts. We can do this into Discord channel. We provided the link, so join Discord channel. That would be really useful. And please subscribe to YouTube also, because that helps in algorithm to get more viewers to the videos, and they can also benefit it from there. And the last thing, share your learning, learn out loud. Whatever you learn, put it on the share into the LinkedIn, any social media, and now you have a badge, a shiny badge to show it to the people. So go ahead and do all these things. So that's what I wanted to share.